We had 3,000 people on the app within the first 3 months, and we didn't spend anything on marketing.
Every single one of them just went hot.
On this week's episode of the podcast, we have Stuart and Steve from Bike Row Ski in Dublin, Ireland. They've scaled up to 8 locations.
We attracted quite a lot of attention, and then that kind of started raising the kind of questions about people looking to franchise with us.
We've had a ton of copycats since try and do the same thing, but without the real USP, which is...
We discuss the science behind the fitness and what makes them different and how they stand out.
We just kind of capitalised on what we kind of saw the market kind of trending before.
Our demographic is predominantly young, busy professionals.
The importance of not doing it alone, building a culture and a team.
So many brands talk about culture in all walks of business. It can't be something that's written on a wall. It has to be something that's felt.
It was going to be a second business that was going to be running alongside PTI.
Maybe open a bike or ski studio across the water at some stage.
And we talk all things risk and entrepreneurship. Let's jump into the episode. Stu, Steve, welcome to the FMA podcast. Appreciate you guys being on and flying over from Dublin. It'd be great just to talk about where the business is at right now, and then we'll go way back to how you guys met.
Yeah, I suppose right now, myself and Steve have lots of plans to scale and grow Bike Row Ski. Currently we have 8 locations across Ireland, some of which have all 3 offerings within the business. Our Conceely location is our HQ location, and then 7 other locations around Ireland, 1 in Cork, in Douglas, 1 in Wicklow in Bray, 1 in Dundalk and Louth, and then the rest are Dublin-based locations. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at, and we've massive ambitions to try and grow and maybe open a bike or ski studio across the water at some stage. Yeah.
When was the first Bike Row Ski founded?
So we would have we've been working on the concept since 2017, and we launched our Conceely location, our original studio, in August 2018.
So good growth in a short space of time.
Yeah, I think we like the kind of situation that we kind of found ourselves in was we just kind of capitalized on what we kind of saw the market kind of trending before. I think a lot of people, before a lot of people kind of spotted it, and the Conceely location just kind of went vertical very, very quickly. Yeah, we're very lucky, and we attracted quite a lot of attention, and then that kind of started raising the kind of questions about people looking to franchise with us.
So how many of the sites do you own are like HQ?
Just 1 centrally owned, and then the other 7 are franchised.
Excellent. We'll go into that in a second. Just so people can understand the concept, what's the service offering?
So it's Bike Row Ski is really founded upon a full body cyclical group class experience, and based around the 3 Concept 2 ergs, the bike erg, the row erg, and the ski erg, and it's in the idea was for a full body cyclical experience without any kind of contraction work yet. That was the initial phase, and the idea was it to be coach led with a good emphasis on coaching on the ergs, because that was a kind of big kind of niche in the market that we saw, that Concept 2 rowers and skiers at the time, but the bikes had just come along, and no one was really talking about coaching them really well and having a structured format to get people moving well in a short space of time. And then we added in the lights and temperature controlled and air conditioned room airflow systems. And a really good consistent format as to how it was coached, and from a time point of view, making it time efficient, and really good feedback in terms of heart rate monitoring, and then our metrics in terms of our Bike Row Ski IQ and how we let people see in the class where they are in terms of meters and within the group.
The cyclical offering allowed us to lower the barriers to entry, as in Steve owns another gym called Performance Therapy Ireland, and the process of getting into Performance Therapy Ireland, there was a lot of barriers in terms of time needed from an individual to invest in themselves, their back issues, their knee issues, their previous training experiences, and then based upon a movement assessment, they would go through one-to-one sessions with a coach to then get into that facility. Whereas Bike or Ski was solving a problem for people that didn't want to invest in the time in themselves and maybe financially one-to-one with a coach. So Bike or Ski broke down all those barriers, and we knew that we could coach people well enough within a 3 to 5 minute window that they get something back from their session, and it was 45 minutes. So like our demographic is predominantly young, busy professionals, you know, so
in and out.
Yeah.
Quick. Any resistance training?
That's where the next phase of the business kind of moved to. So, I mean, Bike or Ski got so popular so fast, and you know, what kind of tends to happen is with so many diehard members and people coming, and they're in so many classes, that they end up seeing so much change in themselves, and they got fitter and they lost, you know, body fat, and they felt great. And then all of a sudden you start to see people's heads start to take over, and they're like, not what's next, but what else can I do? And the fact that we were side by side with my other business, Performance Therapy Ireland, which is strength and conditioning, a lot of people then started saying, oh, well, that must be, you know, I'll do a bit of strength training as well. And the kind of funny coincidence was that PTI was full from a membership point of view, which is a great complaint. But we kept saying to ourselves that there's a middle ground between Bike or Ski and the full strength conditioning, barbell, kettlebell, dumbbell, body weight offering. So Bike or Ski Strength was the next phase. So Bike or Ski Strength now is pretty much as well established as Bike or Ski now in our Concealy location and in our Fairview location. So that Bike or Ski Strength is now what we like to say, it's training to get stronger for Bike or Ski. So we have techno gym benches with dumbbells underneath, as well as some heavier dumbbells in the studio, and we have our bike erg. So the idea will be that the row and the ski are the two more technical pieces where people need to get technically better at and get a lot more coach on, whereas the bike is your kind of go piece where you get on and you go and you work off different rates and different damper settings. But the idea will be that half the class will be working on the bike, getting that sweat work in, whereas the other half the class is getting a structured strength piece, and that could be an upper body and core focus day, or a lower body and core focus day, or a full body day. So we kind of cycle those 3 days over and over and make sure that people get that full exposure and they're getting stronger and fit at the same time.
So you just pick your class basically from the strength element or the original class.
And I think for a lot of the people we served initially in the early years of Bike or Ski, they built such trust in us as people from us going above and beyond and getting to know them and building relationships, that they are people who once maybe they would have never attended a fitness facility because they might have been quite vulnerable, self-conscious, and maybe they had previous experiences that, you know, were scarred. They were almost scarred. And I think Bike or Ski Strength was the natural evolution of Bike or Ski as a brand, in that we built this trust with our community, that it was the natural kind of progression for them to add that accessory piece in to their Bike or Ski training as well. So yeah, it was just a natural evolution of the brand.
You mentioned temperature control. Just tell me more.
So we've basically got a high volume air exchange in every single studio. So there's constantly fresh air being pulled from outside into the studios. So I don't know if you're familiar with hot yoga. That would be temperature control and it would be elevated, but there'd be no high volume air exchange, if that makes sense. But we increase the temperature slightly above outside temperature and we still pull in fresh air from outside. So there's a constant flow of new air in the room and the studio. So we could have anything from 8 to 10 air exchanges in one single class, but the temperature is slightly elevated to outside temperatures, which is great when you live in Ireland, because a lot of the time it is quite cold and it's a nice place to go and spend your morning. Or
did you have that in your original business, original gym?
No.
Where did that idea come? Because I've not heard of this too often.
So I suppose it came from increasing the core temperature of your body to try and help with that additional calorie burn, essentially. And then we've had a ton of copycats since try and do the same thing, but without the real USP, which is the high volume air exchange, because without they work in conjunction with each other. It's not just put heat in a room and now everybody's sweating. That becomes a very
becomes a very sticky situation.
Sticky situation.
And it's just making sure that the high volume air exchange means that it is fresh air the whole time, but the temperature is controlled and held. It could be anywhere between 20 and 25 degrees, but it's a sustainable, breathable environment. Like, it doesn't feel like it's stuffy at all. Whereas, like Stu said, if you went into possibly a hot yoga situation, it is a heated room, but the fresh air doesn't tend to be constantly circulated.
Stuffy, unhygienic to a degree if it's not cleaned up.
Exactly. In the biker ski strength offering, we don't have that elevated heat. It's just high volume air exchange.
You mentioned technology piece. Can you just go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, so we use Polar heart rate tracking on all the OH1 arm mounted sensors. Now, some people come in wearing their own Polar H10 straps, or they wear the watches as well. But we wanted to make sure that we could monitor people in terms of exertion levels, because we didn't want to be similar to other brands and offerings that either one didn't monitor people's efforts, or two they did and they were using that as a kind of a goal piece during the session, where it could be like try and get everybody to push into the red zone or whatever. But what we wanted to make sure is that we were getting people into an aerobic working piece and then trying to hold them there. And then on our intervals, we'd always work on different rest periods based upon the effort. So it could be a longer, more controlled effort, and then there could be a 30-second or even a 60-second recovery, or there could be shorter bursts, shorter recoveries, and the coach then can kind of keep an eye on things and see, who's squeezing a little bit too hard, who's not getting into a good position on a rower and ski to create enough intensity because the heart is sitting lower, and then they can pinpoint that and go over to that member and say, I want you to get into a better position and leg drive a little more, or hip drive a little more on the ski, or on the bike back off a little bit because you're already into that red zone, and we're trying to keep you in that kind of sustainable aerobic piece. So that for us was like really important, that it just showed that instant feedback from a member point of view, and that the coach was coaching and they were actually present, and they weren't just cheerleading and they weren't just roaring and shouting, which is part of it. Like, cheerleading and coaching and educating, they're all meant to be ideally spread evenly, but not just, getting people to go flat out and then not able to sustain and then fall apart during a session. And then the other piece of tech that we have, we got a software piece done for us, and it's a tracking piece. So on either side of the studios we have a screen, and that's basically what we've called our Bikeroski IQ, and that is wirelessly tracking all the meters and data coming from each of the ergs. So you could be on a bike, I could be on a rower, Stu could be on a ski, and the three of us are seeing the meters that we're doing, the rates that we're working at, the paces that we're working at, and that can be worked in a group format or in a team format or an individual format.
Are the customers, are they competing against each other or competing against themselves?
No, I think that's where I feel we differentiate ourselves, in the sense that we sit in the middle of the fitness industry spectrum. And when I say that, on the left-hand side of the spectrum, we've got Mary, mother of 5, who may have never trained a day in her life, attend Bikeroski because she feels safe, supported. It's a coach-led session. It's 45 minutes. And we know we can coach her well enough in that kind of 3 to 5 minute window on each of the ergs. But we could also have professional Irish rugby players sitting alongside Mary, who are there for a low impact, full body aerobic session in their off season before they're getting ready for the new rugby season to come up. And they can sit alongside each other, and they can both take something completely different from the erg, because the session is based on rates, and that means everybody moves together. And Gary Ringrose, in the instance that I have in my head, sitting alongside my mum, he's taken something completely different from that session than my mum. My mum's there for the coaching, the music, the lights, the atmosphere, people saying her name, getting to know her. And Gary Ringrose is there specifically for metrics, and that's how he's stimulated, and that's experience for him, is that he's hit big meters on an erg, and that's absolutely fine. But they both move together. Whereas if me and you go on a run, the likelihood of 60 seconds into that run is you're going to be 500 meters ahead of me, and I'm going to be struggling.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. Everybody moves together, and that's how we've built that community.
I know who Gary is, for context. Yeah. Can you, for people outside rugby, outside Ireland, maybe?
Yeah, Gary Ringrose is a professional Irish rugby player, many caps, and He came to our Fairview location, and my mum happy to be in the session. And they were both able to be coached, and they both took something completely different from their specific sessions on that day.
Elite sports person, and
exactly.
Not sure how old your mum is.
My mum is over the age of 60 now, but had never really trained with any real consistency or structure before in her life, and exercise wasn't a thing. But we broke down those barriers to allow her to sit alongside Gary Ringrose and still take something different without feeling like anything was expected of her.
You both mentioned 3 to 5 minute windows, something along. Can you give me context to that? What are you talking about? The time on the ergs, or?
Yeah, so the bicycle ski classes are specifically designed around 12-minute blocks. So we would do a 12-minute block, and then could be a 3 or 4 minute transition where bikes go to row goes to ski goes to bike. And then the coach will then cue them to start off the same 12-minute block again, but they're now entering the same 12-minute block, but on a different erg, so a different experience, essentially. But in terms of the actual 12-minute block, that could be anything from there could be up to a 6 or a 7 minute continuous piece within the 12-minute block before there's a break, or there could be anything up to, there could be rolling sprints, there could be 30-second sprints, there could be 60-second slightly more sustainable higher efforts. So pretty much every day it's a different program, and we'd have different names like sprint, steady sprint, fartlek session, intervals, waves. So we'd have a ton of different sessions that are basically backlogged for the last 7 years. So we've a lot of sessions built
consistently up. Changing the programming.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
There's no one program that's run more than once, so you'll never do the same program twice. And the 3 to 5 minute window, for context, is the coach having that first initial warm up piece through catch finish, and a 30-second element to identify the fires that may be arising with someone who may not have any experience in training or on the erg specifically. So we knew that we could help people move well enough in that short window, because it was, in terms of complexity, it was quite low for bike, rowing and skiing. So yeah, that really helps.
I think people kind of get a funny impression of the rower and the skier as well. They're two complex machines, and a lot of people look at a skier and see something very complicated, and they look at a rower and go, oh sure, everybody rows. And really it's actually the other way around. A rower, and of course if you speak to anyone who's like rowed in college or rowed professionally or who is a serious rower, they'll even laugh at us talking about this. The rower is such a complex piece, and when the penny drops for somebody, it can take weeks and months or even years, but when the penny drops for somebody, that a coaching cue has been given to them that makes sense, and they start to actually glide and row on a rower, and it starts to feel not effortless, but it starts to feel like, well, I'm actually rowing here, and I'm getting feedback from the erg that's real. It's a really cool thing to actually witness that with somebody making that kind of transition from someone who they could have been in a different gym on a rower for years, and they could be just banging away and getting nothing from it.
You see it in commercial gyms a lot. Even in coach gyms, like the coach will coach on resistance, but they won't actually coach on the cardio. Just take it for granted. Oh, that person knows how to row.
Yeah.
I don't know what your standard of rowing is, but you see the bar up here, you see it up here.
Yeah, it's not to say it's being butchered, but kind of is in a lot of places. And then the skier, people look at it and they see this tall standing monstrosity, and they're like, oh my god, what is the thing? And it's actually, when you break it down, it's actually quite a simple piece, but again, it needs to be broken down right. And like Stu said, in the first 3 to 5 minutes we can get people moving really well, if they're taking on board the simple cues that the like coach is working on. Our coach is always working on coach cue and correct from a group piece to an individual piece, and then we'd spend a bit of time with one member after class and go through a few bits with them, or the coach's tip of the day. So for us, it's this never-ending journey of trying to get really efficient on the ergs.
How much science is behind the programming, and who's in charge of that?
I think it's been a kind of initially it would have been with me, and then Stu took it on, and I think it's evolved, and it's kind of meandered in an even more structured way over the years since Stu has taken it on. And then there's also Sarah and Ruth
I think we've well. Steve initially, with his background and experience, would have spent a lot of time with me, and Steve was one of my mentors initially. through all types of programming and energy systems. But yeah, there is quite a lot of science in the sense that we want people to come in and move really, really well, but we want them to understand that it's an aerobic based session. It's not tapping into anaerobic work or anything like it, because they're going to work for 45 minutes, not just 12 minutes, or not just 1 minute and then 3 minutes and then 1 minute. And for anybody to train efficiently on those ergs and get something back, it's got to be an aerobic based session. It can't be any more than that. And recently I've spent the last 6 years programming, but Sarah and Ruth, our two main ops team now and management team, they're pretty much taking on that role completely, and it's something that I've certainly found difficult to hand over, but it's something that's needed to happen as we've grown, I suppose. Yeah.
How much is the membership roughly?
Currently in our Concedi HQ location, it's 159 recurring revenue, or recurring subscription, should I say. So 159, and that gives you access to both offerings.
And different locations, it varies?
It varies based on the offerings that they have in those locations, because when we obviously initially launched in the first franchise locations, a lot of them were standalone and space was limited. So we're recently trialing in our Fairview location that we offer both bike or ski and bike or ski strength in the same studio. So there's a bit of logistics around that. But the membership varies based on what the offering is or has.
Is there a pay-as-you-go option?
Yeah, I think initially that was one of, and this is crazy and you're probably going to laugh, when we launched in August 2018 in that first concept, part of the reason why we launched as a pay-as-you-go only option and no membership option was because we wanted to break down the barriers and allow people to come and attend and experience it. I suppose from that already established membership base and the functional fitness offering that was downstairs, they weren't necessarily our demographic, but they were going to come and try a class and then go and tell the local community about what was going on in the new facility. So at the time, it was a real positive for us. Obviously, you would never do that now, but it was a real positive for us in the sense that we were able to get more people through the doors. But bike or ski is so much more than what happens inside the studio. And we knew the hard work, we knew the product was going to work with the fitness industry spectrum and being able to tap into both sides of it. But in terms of people coming along and trying it, it's so much more than what's going on inside the studio for 45 minutes. It's about the pre and post class and the customer service and the above and beyond kind of relationships that were built through that initial 9-10 months before we launched our first franchise location. That's where the real work happened, and we knew we only had 45 to 60 minutes with any one person at that time because it was pay-as-you-go only. We only had a 45 to 60 minute window to make sure they felt safe, supported, didn't feel defeated leaving, and
part of a community.
So culture and community was such a massive part of what we did in that first 9 months, and spending so much time with the coaches and the members, and presence is one thing that I don't hear enough of from fitness business owners, but also other business owners. I'm like, you've got to be on the floor and you've got to be present. And I'm not saying you have to be there every day in every class, but I am saying you have to be around your members and being beside them, not to push them any harder, but just to build a relationship with them.
I love that you said that, because the business owner sometimes steps out way too much, and they're working on other projects, other businesses. And it's like if you're the world's best chef and you open a restaurant, but you don't want to go in the kitchen, you got to be there initially, right, to get the momentum and
it's a tough balance to kind of strike as well. But it's exactly like Stu said. It's presence it's that unquantifiable quality within a business that we always talk about. That we're always talking to the people in the franchise as well, and Stu spends a lot of time on the road, and Ruth does as well, and Sarah does as well, and they go into the other studios to show their face, jump into a class, support that coach, meet the other members, sweat alongside them, and the like it's just so unquantifiable as to how valuable that actually is. And to kind of add to what Stu said about why the pay-as-you-go thing came about, in PTI, in Performance Therapy Ireland, in the other business, one of the massive reasons as to why Biker Ski was formed as well was because I was getting a lot of our long-term members coming to us and they were saying, oh, listen, I'm actually saving for a house now. I'm going for a mortgage, or we're having our first baby, or, we are buying a house, we're getting married. All these kind of life kind of moments were happening. And a lot of it was, can I just cancel my recurring monthly membership for a while and then I'll come back to you, and can I just, pay as you go in PTI? And I was like, it's not the model and we can't actually do that, unfortunately. So the whole Biker Ski idea happened at the same time, and we were kind of looking at each other going, this actually takes care of that, and it keeps those people in our current community already in the building with the other business, and they still feel part of the community, but they now have a pay-as-you-go option with
they can
with
dip
the
in,
business.
dip out.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden PTI and Biker Ski started kind of feeding each other, and they both kind of grew together, and then Biker Ski just skyrocketed and kind of went vertical,
We'll go way back and find out how you guys initially met and how you got into the industry. Quick question for you though, Steve. So a lot of business owners build up successful facilities like yourself, and then that's it. They're either content with that or they don't have aspirations to do something else. You've got this facility, that capacity is working well. You've then gone on and opened Bike Row Ski. What was like the driving factor? Why did you make that choice to do that? Because you could have just been like, hey, this is good, kit back.
Yeah, I mean, PTI at that stage in 2017 wasn't that capacity. It was doing well. It was a good functioning business. In terms of the coaching team that we had at the time, like it was myself, Stu, Carl, Daglon, and there was 3 or 4 other coaches, Sarah, Ruth. Like we had a phenomenal team at the time. But like I said, it wasn't just about let's just build this thing up and get it to a point. It was actually about when problems or issues present themselves within the community that you see or the industry that you see coming, it's extremely difficult not to kind of act on that and go, well, look, we can actually build the team out further and we can provide better careers for everybody and help the team grow. And we went from, I think it was maybe 6 or 7 coaches there to, where are we now with 24 people in the building, just in Concealy between both businesses. So really for me, it was about trying to progress my career, but it was also, and progress both businesses, but it's about trying to make sure that you don't get to that point within a lot of people's careers in the fitness industry where they get to the 27, 28, 29 age and they go, I want to buy a house and get married and have kids, and all the life stuff comes along again. So I'm like, how do we get all these really important people that are with me and doing everything with me and building this thing up? How do you get all them to a point where they have careers and they're happy and they're fulfilled and they can do everything that they want to do and buy a house and get married and have kids? So personally, that was a big driving factor for me, that people like Stu and like Carl and like Sarah and like Ruth, all these people, for me, it was like, how do you get them to the next step as well? So it's not a big Robin Hood thing or anything. Like it's, it really is about great people around you, and it's like, how do you make sure that these great people are fulfilled as well?
I think for me the takeaway though is innovation.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a gap in the market, you saw the change in the fitness industry, and you wanted to offer a different service offering. So let's find out how did you guys get into the fitness industry, and then how did you meet, and then how did the collaboration of business partners come together?
I actually started out in engineering in Bolton Street in Dublin City, and I was there, and I started there in college in the year 2000, and I did 2.5 years and 9 to 5 of applied maths and physics and chemistry, and it just wasn't for me. I wasn't happy or fulfilled, and went home one day and said to my dad, I don't really want to do this anymore. And I was kind of worried. I was kind of, is this going to go down well. And my mum and dad were very supportive and said, look, what do you want to do? And I said, I think I want to try something in the fitness industry, because I was training loads at the time. Got qualified, a few personal training qualifications and that, and then worked in some commercial gyms. And then I was very lucky to get working in quite a high-end personal training studio in Dublin city centre. I was there for 5.5 years. Kind of rode the very early days of the CrossFit wave, and went to California and did 3 weeks of 2-3 gyms a day, and came back with a kind of a big idea that I could do a functional fitness gym, but do it my own way without going straight down the CrossFit route. I wanted to have CrossFit as a part of it, but not the main gym. And that was Performance Therapy Ireland, and that was launched I set it up in 2010, launched in January 2011. So that kind of, and I qualified as a physical therapist at the same time. So I was in physio as well as personal training, as well as small group training, and doing it all myself, and trying to run a business and do it very inefficiently, do everything very inefficiently. And then say, listen, I need to, figure this out and get people on board. And that kind of then went from January 2011 all the way up to now. So PTI is in its 15th year of business now, and then Bike Row Ski was launched in August 2018. So I was very lucky to have the guys walk through the door. I think would have been
it's a marketing it's actually a marketing story, as in I was an electrician, didn't want to do it, just did it because my dad and my brother did it. And I remember one day, leaving for work at like 4 a.m. to go to a site, and I was like, this is just not for me. And I went back to college and studied sports management and exercise, and football was always a huge part of my life. And I taught coaching teams to some capacity, whether it be strength and conditioning or coaching on the field. So I did my licenses with football, and in the meantime, my younger brother, who's Carl, who works as manager of the Performance Therapy Ireland gym, he Googled CrossFit gyms in the area, and Performance Therapy Ireland was one of the first to pop up on Google search. So that kind of introduced us to Steve, which was back in 2015, I want to say, maybe.
Yeah, maybe even slightly earlier.
Maybe earlier, maybe 2014.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And then the kind of, I suppose the story started or began, and I worked with Steve and was mentored every Saturday on a Saturday morning before classes came in at 5 a.m. And we were just kind of, myself and Carl.
Meetings at 5 in the morning
to 5, 6 a.m. on a Saturday.
Coach the team.
Yeah, well, himself, Stu and Carl would come in and we'd kind of pick a topic, and we'd go through energy system training, or we go through the 6 banners of movement, and we go through progressing and regressing exercise, we go through movement mechanics, we go through everything that the lads basically wanted to go through. And
so you get to learn. And
wanted more and wanted to understand the programming. And in Performance Therapy Ireland, there was 5 programs running at any one time within the group training setting. So you could have a national Olympic weightlifter training alongside Mary, mother of 5, on a very basic linear strength training program. So it was, for us, it was like, I'd never seen that in the industry, and I'd only ever seen the go motivation piece. So we just wanted to learn from Steve and tap into his brain, and I suppose it started to grow from that.
What time was the first session? Saturday, 7 a.m?
No, we probably did 3 hours before.
We did 3 hours before we went in.
8 a.m.
8 o'clock.
Dedication.
So we used to do that every week. Yeah, that was a fun time.
It was great.
No late nights, Friday nights.
Yeah, no.
You had Ayla at the time.
Ayla had just come along in 2015 at the time. Yeah. So. But no, I was very, very lucky as well, because I've had some phenomenal mentors as well in the fitness industry. Like, I was over in California and spent time with Coach Mike Bergner, and he was a kind of CrossFit Olympic weightlifting kind of seminar guy. And I had time with Greg Everett from Caddis Athletics, and Mark Riptoe from Starting Strength, and Rob Wolf from the Paleo Solution, and John Wellborn from CrossFit Football, and just phenomenal guys. And then I ended up 2 kind of huge big mentors for me as well were James Fitzgerald from OPEX. So we spent time with him, and then Max El Haj from Training Think Tank. So I kind of was very lucky to take stuff from Ripto, from Coach Bergener, from James Fitzgerald, from Max El-Haj, and then kind of put it all together and kind of bring it to people through PTI. And like Stu said, there was all these, with 5 different programs running, and there could be 15 people in a room doing 5 different programs. But I remember James Fitzgerald talking to us about what like needs versus wants, and what people want and what they need to be doing first. And one of the sentences that he always led in with, he's like, I don't know how you're going to do this in your facility, but this is what I would do if I was able to do it. And it just kind of got me thinking, going, there has to be a way to do this and to put different programs out there with such high levels and low levels of complexity. So it took years to kind of get it right, but that's kind of what PTI is.
For people that have been in the industry a long time, they'll recognise all of those names that you just said. For someone who's maybe newer, they should definitely go Google those names and see what those guys do. So my guess is you heavily invested in your own self-education.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you continuously have that drive to continuously learn? It's not cheap, right? Flying to America, going to these seminars. Like I guess you're reinvesting like all the time.
Yeah, constantly. But also in Ireland, I kind of, not that there was no one there to learn from, but I think it was the age of the internet and the CrossFit website and the Catalyst Athletics coaching videos, and all of that was kind of coming along, and I was very much so kind of captured by all of that on like YouTube, and what you were seeing over in America. I think it always used to be America was about 5 years ahead, and that then we'd all kind of catch up in Europe. But I think the kind of gap's gotten smaller because of the age of the internet and social media. But like Instagram and Facebook and stuff didn't even exist when I was kind of getting going. So when I saw a lot of stuff that Coach Bergener was putting out, that CrossFit was putting out, that Greg Everett and Catalyst Athletics was putting out, for me, I was like, no one's doing that here. And it wasn't even about what program was going to cost if I put it out there for a member. It was about, I don't know this stuff and I need to know this to be a professional coach and to be reputable as a good coach. And then at the same time, I was studying as a physical therapist. So for me, it was like, if someone didn't move well, it was going to result in injury. So how do I coach people better and give them the full offering of basically being a coach-led environment with a physical therapy brain kind of behind it. So I was very, very lucky that all of those people that I contacted and said, like, could I buy a cup of coffee? Could I, call to your house? Could I call to your gym? Whatever. And every single person I contacted said, yeah, no problem. If you're coming from Ireland, absolutely. And we ended up staying with Coach Bergener in his house for a week and training with him and all of his athletes, and then going down to CrossFit in Invictus and spending time with the competition team there and seeing all these phenomenal athletes training. And we were in there with the competition team, like Lauren Fisher, Gareth Fisher. They're all training away beside us. It was just a really, really cool early days kind of CrossFit time, and then obviously things have changed within the kind of CrossFit world, but it was a really cool kind of time to kind of witness it all.
I think the takeaway here is consistently reinvest.
Absolutely.
If you don't know it, go learn it.
And that's kind of where Stu was kind of in terms of micro ski education. It's literally a non-stop ongoing process that he's constantly working on from the education side of things. So that's something that he's been striving to really build, and I think it's really becoming something really cool.
Because from the outside in, someone could be like, oh, it's just a bunch of equipment, just jump on and sweat. But
exactly.
There's much more to it, right?
Yeah, much more. We've had, I want to say, we can't count them on our hands anymore, the amount of copycats that have tried to replicate what we do. And that's why I wanted to highlight earlier that it's so much more than what happens inside the studio. It's about the time you're spending driving culture with the people who are going to deliver the product and how much they care. And so many brands talk about culture in all walks of business, and it can't be something that's written on a wall. It has to be something that's felt. And I feel like we do put a lot of time into trying to deliver as much coach education, and even to managers and franchise owners, education around what this needs to feel like when you're there. And I think a lot of people just kind of think presence is standing in the room. It's not. It's leading by example. It's building conversations. And the hardest thing I always say for a coach to do as a new coach, they might have a background in education or coaching, fitness previously, but as a new coach to walk into a reception where people are signing in and work the room is like one of the hardest things in the world. And you'll see lots of the new coaches come in, they'll stand behind the reception space, building this physical barrier between them and the most vulnerable person in the world. And that for me, like, is that's a problem, because these people are coming in and they feel, they feel intimidated walking into any space. Any new space is intimidating. So yeah, we spend a lot of time with coaches inside the studio, but also outside as well.
Let's go down that route, team leadership, culture. So are you doing that in the job interview? Because it could be a complete newbie to the industry, or it could be someone who's established that you're onboarding as a team member.
I think in our experience, it's most of the best hires, and I'm not generalizing here, because there is some amazing hires that have come from interviews and Indeed and great businesses like that. But most of our best hires initially were the ones who are already taking part in the experience, and it's us identifying those individuals. And the best example I can give is one of our management or ops team, Ruth. She when we launched our first initial franchise in Glasnevin location, I was working there and coaching and trying to build the team, the community, everything within that space. And Ruth walked in working for another fitness offering, and with her colleague, one of her colleagues, and instantly after that, I seen charisma, energy, empathy, chatting to people in the space without even being part of it, if that makes sense. And I just reached out straight away and said, can I grab a coffee with you? I'd love to talk to you, and I'd love for me and Steve to sit down. And now that was over 6 years ago now, but
she had the right attributes. You could see
everything. And so many have come into the biker ski experience in some location, and we've said they've got to work for us, because they have, that's more important to me than their education. And nobody cares if you're the most educated coach. Sorry, but nobody cares if you're the most educated coach if you're not likable, if people don't like you.
Some of the people that you've approached, have they not had the qualifications on paper, and then they've gone away and achieved that?
Yeah. So how that works is, if they don't have the qualifications, they have to go away from an insurance perspective to go away and get qualified. But yeah, we'll take care of all of the education around training, exercise, biker ski, anatomy, physiology. We'll do all of that. We just want the person, and that's what's important to us.
So many people, it's like Stu said, they've walked through the door and they already embody the brand without knowing it. Like they're really good, fun, likable people with empathy and conversation to boot, and you can spot them, and they might have done 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 sessions, and already they know the value that we put in coaching, and we put in customer service, and we put in structure, and we put in before and after class conversations, and they're like, so many of them are doing it before we've even told them that they're doing it. It's really cool to see. Yeah.
So for a gym owner listening to this, if they're struggling with staffing, potentially look to hire within.
Yeah, we spoke a lot at the mastermind yesterday within our breakout group about hiring within. There's always someone standing right in front of you that could potentially be great for your business. Yeah,
part-time, full-time.
Yeah.
They might hate their day job.
Exactly.
Change a career.
And there's so many that do both a day job and biker ski. So many that just love the community and love everything about it, and they want to add that kind of feeling of biker ski and the culture within biker ski and help other members grow as well. So
yeah, and just being a part of the brand outside of their other work, which most of them, or all of them, love their other jobs as well. But I think biker ski just adds that little bit of an extra. They feel a part of something extra again.
Let's go back to the story of how you guys connected. So, you're in the gym together daily in PI. So then, how did the conversation, the concept of bike race ski come about, and then how did you guys?
Well, I suppose we had the idea initially. It was going to be about rowers and skiers, And then Stu went to an event in Dublin, wasn't it? It was a big fitness event, and the Bike Erg was literally just there, and it was just brought out by Concept 2. And he texted me, I think, from the event, and he's like, "You have to see this." He's like, "This is next level." So we got one in straight away. We did a lot of testing with it, and the rower and the skier, and then we said, "Right, we're going to use all three." And for me, it was about, like, you know, it was going to be a second business that was going to be running alongside PTI, but I couldn't say to every single person in PTI, now you're all going to go over here and work on this thing as well, and then it would take away from the original business, which was, you know, the like foundations of it all for everybody, and everybody's still working there. So in my eyes, getting Stu involved as from the very start was the most important thing. And then there was Sarah as well, and one or two others as well that came in. Like one of our coaches, Abby, she was just working reception for us at the start because she was a member in PTI, and she's actually one of those people that walked in the door, and he looked up at me from downstairs. He said, "We need to talk to this girl because Abby's brilliant as well, and she's one of these people that knows everything."
A headhunter.
Yeah, literally, he was just spotting people all over the place. It was brilliant. So then I suppose it launched, and then that was it from kind of early days, that we kind of knew then that me being kind of split between both businesses, we knew that like Stu needed to be the kind of operations guy that kind of moved away from PTI and just focused solely on bike or ski. And I think that's kind of one of the most important decisions that we ever made.
When you look back on that time, it was myself, Steve, Sarah and Mark coaching every single class for this new concept that we were trying to prove. And it's still myself, Steve and Sarah, and like Sarah is integral in everything that bike or ski is and kind of will be, but it's about having those people around you. And I suppose we took Abby on very quickly when we knew that we were going to kind of grow and go beyond that. So
again, I think the takeaway for me is you can't do anything of significance alone.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You need that team.
It's what did they say? It's the right people in the right seats on the bus, right? And for me, it was Stu and Sarah are still there now, and what they're doing has been, you know, it's been the greatest decisions ever to have them kind of spearhead it, you know.
Yeah.
At what point you opened the doors to Bike Risky, and then at what point did you we're onto something here?
3 months in, 3 months was the key number for me. We had 3,000 people on the app within the first 3 months, and we didn't spend anything on marketing. We didn't Facebook ad, we didn't do anything. So word of mouth in the local community, and we were kind of running organic social media together, which was terrible to look back at now. But we knew we had our own customer facing app, a bike or ski app, and we knew with that many people on the app, we were like, this is something. And we had 2 franchise inquiries within the first 6 months. So we knew something was we were solving a problem. And
it was funny. It kind of went August, September, October, November, and then the usual December slump with all the partying and whatever, and then January it
never looked back.
Went,
And then when did Site 2 happen?
10 months in, so June 2019. We launched in August 2018 to prove the concept. In June 2019, we launched our second location.
How far is that from location 1?
7 kilometres, 5, 6.
Within 10k.
Yeah, it was within a 10k radius. Yeah.
And what was the launch process?
I'd be absolutely lying if I said that we had everything in place. We definitely didn't, and we were jumping before we could run. But it was a current kind of member that loved the experience, and we wanted to roll it out, and we were ambitious then too. So the process was exactly what we said before, being really present and building culture and community within the coaches and recruiting people like Karen at the time. Again, her personality was bike or ski and a personality, if that made sense, and she was going to manage that team. And then we built the team, and then we hoped that the time spent with that team translated over to the members in the community. But again, we didn't have a sales strategy. We didn't do any sales. We didn't do any
marketing,
spend nothing on marketing, just organic. So yeah, we were completely naive back then, completely.
It was a real build it and they will come kind of situation. And it did at the start very, very much so with the first 4 locations. It did.
Yeah, within a month of that, we had site 3 and 4 as well. So within 2-month period, we had 4 locations.
And did you have all the like technology elements from day one in every site, or is this what you've...
We didn't have the IQ technology until coming up close to 2020. But Polar was there from day one with the heart rate monitoring. The programming was there. The exact flow of the class was there. But it was really just that we just kind of knew that from the amount of interest we'd had for the Concealy location, and then the amount of franchise interest, and the 3 sites that we picked instantaneously, every single one of them just went hot, you know.
Mm.
So a lot of fitness facilities get to a point and they have to make that decision. Do they multiply and do it themselves? Do they go down the franchise route? So how did that discussion come around? And
so we did look at a second location for ourselves, more towards Dublin city centre, but again we just couldn't find the right location at the time. So with all the franchise inquiries coming in, we said, look, we need to talk to somebody that can help us like get our brains down into a manual and at least have it like as a manualized process that we can then work through page by page. So there's a franchising company in the UK called Ashton's Franchising. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. And they assigned a guy called Charlie to us. So he flew over from the UK, met me in a makeshift office that I had at the time, which was a service station coffee shop down the road, and sat there for like 2 days with him and literally manualized everything down onto paper. He had a bit of a template that they use already, and then I had to fill in all the blanks. So we end up coming out with, you know, our coach's manual, our manager's manual, our owner's manual, and that all basically became the initial first kind of system. And then we worked on the education manual as well. So you had basically all these manuals done up, and then we were able to then say, look, okay, now that we're getting these franchises going, we actually have something as a pretty solid kind of structure that we can work off. Because other than that, it was really just build the studio, get the like tech in, and then it was going off, you know, someone like Stu going down there and spending all of his working day with them and trying to get the whole point across with everything that we're doing, at least with the manual we had, the start, the beginning, the end of your setup process, of your memberships, how your coaches are going to coach people, how they're going to greet people, how they're going to give them feedback after class. So everything was down that. But when we look back at that now, it's, you know, it's a fraction of what we're actually doing now and what we're actually trying to move towards.
So that probably was a significant investment to go down that route. And the word that keeps coming up throughout this whole, podcast is risk.
Yeah.
So again, you could have easily just sat back, not have gone down this road, not have, created a brand new business, a brand. So let's talk about risk. Did you ever doubt yourself? Was you ever fearful? Like, was you ever checking the bank account? Like, we're in the overdraft. I don't think I can do this financially. Like, were people around you supportive, or were they like whispering in your ear, like, be careful?
No, it was the same when I set up the initial business, PTI. I got asked this before by a few people, and I actually honestly never even remember considering the fact that something could fail. It was always like, when you believe in something and you see that it's what people need and then it's also what people want, and you're so committed to it and so passionate about it, I honestly, the word failure and this might not work never even entered my mind. And then I think Bike Row Ski, knowing what I knew from the previous business and the team and the people that were involved for Bike Row Ski starting out, I was like, and the fact that once we recognized that this was something that could do well in the market, the more that every day went past, I was like, if we don't do this, someone else is going to capitalize on this. Because it was becoming, I think by the day or by the week, it was becoming more and more obvious that this this has to exist, you know. So I think once we kind of started that, there was no, don't think there was ever a conversation between us that this thing wasn't going to grow.
No, but in terms of risk and thinking about risk, I've definitely thought about it all the time. And in terms of our second location, third and fourth, because that's all I did was check the numbers, and I still do it now every day when I get up in the morning, is check numbers. But back then, when you open in a standalone facility after coming from the HQ location that was thriving, and you've 2 people booked into a class, it's quite a daunting place to be. And I put a lot of personal pressure on myself to make that micro ski product work somewhere else. And I suppose, a lot of my time was spent in different locations, but it had to work. I knew we solved the problem, and I knew it would if people came, but we had to get people there as well. And I suppose, I did think about risk a lot in the sense of other locations, not necessarily in our HQ location, because we had the people there, we had the team. So I did consider risk with some of the locations.
Like we knew that, like Stu like kind of talks about risk, but from my side it was always, I knew that the product was so good, and he knew it as well, but we both knew that it needed to go to the right location and the right people needed to be involved, like from a management and from a coaching point of view. But it was more that we needed to make sure that people knew it was there and it existed. And that's where I think we kind of started realising that the marketing and sales point of view was nowhere near as good as the product was.
No, definitely not.
You know?
What's a day in the life currently?
I suppose.
I guess you're laughing because like any business owner, you're putting out fires, right?
It's constant fires, and I spoke again in the breakout group yesterday about this. And
just to give context, we had a member only mastermind yesterday, and in that mastermind session there was breakouts,
and some of the guys were chipping in with their solutions for my own problems, being that when I get up, I'd check the numbers and try and prioritize the bits that need to be done first and foremost with emails and everything. But most of my time now is spent around organics, where the brand shows up, how it looks, how we feel, how we sound to people externally. But then aside from that, it's driving coach education, hosting constant calls with multiple franchise owners and managers weekly to try and help them think outside of the box and outside of the business a little bit, in terms of reflecting and looking at different avenues that they could potentially go, from local marketing to Google to anything coach education, marketing, sales, we talk about weekly. And then reporting obviously is a huge part, but right now it's thinking again. I said we were ambitious, and we really are ambitious, and we want to grow. And it's building out the biker ski curriculum so that when it does open up again, we're not in that super naive position when we open the first 4 locations to think that build it and that people will come. They won't. So we need to be able to scale and have people really well educated through a piece of software, because we can't always be there. We can't always deliver. We'll try and we'll do our best, but we can't always be there with every single coach if it did go to another continent or country,
Which I'm sure it will.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Day in a life?
I think for me it's kind of, I'm always walking that line between checking in with PTI and the team there and making sure everybody's happy and what they need and what their roles are. And then on the other side, it's the biker ski role as well, and trying to spend time with Stu and Sarah and Ruth from an operations point of view, and then with all the coaches as well. So I think there's I love the kind of presence piece, and that Stu always talks about, and trying to like be there to spend as much time with everybody to see that they're all getting what they need. And then for me, really, it's the kind of financial side of both businesses, and it could be invoicing with the franchises, it could be checking on our standard like running costs in terms of both businesses, and making sure everyone's going well, and checking the numbers.
With PTI, how many clients roughly?
We would have we'd have probably upwards of, say, close to 450 members.
And then Bike Row Ski across all locations?
we've 35,000 people on the app, active users. There's currently like 2,500 active users right now.
Is that recurring memberships or?
Not all recurring. It's generally a kind of a 40-60 split on average across all the locations.
Yeah. And we talked about the price point, but how much is the recurring price point for a consumer to pay membership wise?
It's at 159 recurring.
Okay, what's the front end offer?
The front end offer is now 179.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where previously the front offer was a free trial or a paid class?
Like we've done both. We've, especially when we launched in a new location, it was every class free for the weekend, and we soon saw that was the best way to devalue the brand and the product. So yeah, we used to have a front end offer of 3 for 29 to try and get people in the door and spend 3 sessions with them. But yeah, with the help of FMA and sales strategy and marketing, we've now been confident enough to value exactly what it is that we do on that front end, and have people actually have to pay for it, you know.
So yeah, let's go through the process. So someone's interested, they respond to an advert or maybe an organic.
Yeah.
So what happens?
Generally, it goes to a landing page or form that they fill out for their specific location, and then it's straight on to our sales team, which in every location is slightly different. But the sales team will contact them within 12 to 16 hours. They'll get a phone call, and it's that front end offer sale or sell, should I say, to try and get them in the door. And that's an 18 credit over 6 weeks. So they'll get 18 sessions with us over that 6 week period, with anything from, some studios and offerings will have a kind of in-body machine to potentially run them through pre and post. But it's more so about trying to spend 18 sessions with this individual and show them that this is a place that they can grow and kind of build on their own fitness goals and objectives,
The first session, what happens? Does the coach meet them before?
So they'll have a kind of a message to say arrive 15 minutes early to meet the team or the coach, and the coach will basically give them an introduction in the room as to how the session will work, what the layout will be like, and more so put them at ease, because again, it's super intimidating to walk into a new environment, but putting them at ease and showing them empathy. And I think a famous professor in the UCLA studies communication, and it's 7% of what people take is what we actually, the words that we actually say. So it's about that body language and helping people feel like this is a comfortable space to be in, and there's absolutely nothing expected of them. That's the most important piece, is that there's nothing expected of any individual walking in. So yeah, they're briefed on the class, and then following their first session, they'll get some feedback after, and they're given another text message manually, not automated.
Is there retail areas?
In our Concedi HQ location, there is a Lululemon retail area for people to purchase.
And changing rooms?
Yeah, full changing rooms and showers in every facility. And in our HQ location, we have a coffee space as well, where people can buy coffee and stay a little bit longer if they like.
What impact has Hyrox had on the business?
I suppose Hyrox is a fitness race, and Steve will talk about the expression in a second. But for me, it's biker ski gives that low impact training piece to help people build their aerobic base for potentially a Hyrox race. So, and it has 2 of the elements that show up in that Hyrox race. So yeah, it's been a positive one for people to try and get better on the ergs.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, what we've noticed and what we hear with a lot of people talking about it is, it's obviously it's massive, and it's so many people are discussing it and then wanting to take part. But what we always talk about is that Hyrox, not to say it's the same as a Tough Mudder or a Hell and Back or a 5K race, but Hyrox is an expression of fitness. It's not a training methodology. And that what we try to explain to a lot of our members in biker ski and in PTI is that your training can stay the exact same as it is right now, and you can get stronger at the 6 banners of movement, which we always talk about, which is double leg, single leg, upper body push, upper body pull, bending and core. There are 6 banners of movement that we all train every single day when you go to the gym. Whatever you do, you're doing one of or all of those 6. And if you learn, if we even talk about anthropometry, which is like, longer femored guys and girls versus shorter femored guys and girls with poor ankle mobility versus good ankle mobility. So a classic hinge athlete versus a classic squat athlete, in terms of strength training, these people need different training. And if you train the hinge person with a lot of squat work, a lot of the time it ends up where we're going to run into some issues with them, and there's possibly going to be some back issues or knee issues. And if you tend to not train the squat person for what they're more in need of as well, it tends to create this imbalance. And what we try and talk to people about all the time is that something like, say, a ton of wall ball for a person who's not a classic squatter, if you practice high rocks by just doing high rocks all the time and do a ton of wall ball with that kind of body type, it's not going to benefit you long term, because long term you're doing high rocks for the experience, and you're doing it for a time, and at the end of the race you get your time, and it's fantastic. But in terms of most people's fitness goals, it's look better, feel better, get leaner, get stronger. And for the body type that might not be suited to that kind of training repetitively over time, that's where problems start to come in. So it's trying to educate people to be like, absolutely go and express your training and your fitness in a race or in an event, but do try and train appropriately for your body type. Get good coaching for it,
Like, too many people in this industry redline the client, right? Every session.
Absolutely.
And the coach or the gym think that's the right thing to do. The client just doesn't know any better, and they think that's how you get fit, doing Murph, once a week, like it's not just CrossFit, it's any gym, right? Even commercial gyms, where people, low cost gyms, they go and just redline every session. They feel
exactly. Sorry, I suppose it comes down to, we talked about CrossFit in the past, but it's that one size fits all approach to training. It just doesn't work for people. And what do people really want out of training? And I would argue that most people just want to look and feel a little bit better, and they want to be able to pick up their kids or grandkids when they're older. And that's long-term independence. That's coaching for me, is helping them, educate them and understand that long-term independence is more important than, constantly doing a half marathon to try and get better at a half marathon. Nobody does that. So it's just trying to...
So education of your team to educate the customer, absolutely, to get them better results.
Absolutely.
What's the future?
I think the future for us is like Stu said, we're ambitious extremely. And our kind of big goals now are to, like Stu said, it's to get Bike-O-Ski as a brand overseas. We've had a lot of interest and we've had a lot of conversations. And at the moment we are hopefully moving towards that goal. There's nothing set in stone just yet, but we'd hope by the end of the year or early next year to have some good news about the brand.
What's interesting is, like, your knowledge and information around training. It's not like you just come up with an idea and it's like, you guys are from the fitness industry. You've got the credits, you've got the hours underneath you as coaches, and then you've created this brand that's scaled quick and will continue to do that. You've got the science, you've got the knowledge behind it. It's not just like a nice logo and hey, here you go. Here's a franchise. That's pretty impressive stuff. Where can people find out more? Your Instagram, the website?
Both. We've just recently relaunched our website, and our Instagram handle is Bike-O-Ski, at Bike-O-Ski. So if you want to come and check us out or DM us,
And personally, if people want to reach out to you?
Stephen Weinman on LinkedIn and on Instagram.
And I'm Stuart Gretton on both platforms.
Thank you, guys. Really insightful and massively inspiring for me. And I'm sure people listening, watching, if they're comfortable in their business, like, what else can they do to, impact more people and really leave a name, a legacy in the industry, which is what you guys are doing. So, thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.